have them?
Them. Superman, the mean dog in a cape, a weird baby, and a squiggle man.
What?
After years of waiting, James Gunn's Superman has finally released. And with how hit or miss Superman has been in movies over the past years, I think it's safe to say that this movie is already the best one. It's important to note that I'm a very big James Gunn fan. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is a masterpiece, and I will die on that hill any day. So when I learned that he was set to be writing and directing the new movie for my second favorite superhero, I exploded. From the moment I saw the first trailer, I was fully convinced I was going to see one of the best movies of my life. And I'm proud to say that both times I saw this movie with my brother, we did not leave the theater even a little bit disappointed. And who better to talk about this with than the person I saw the movie with? My brother and brand new co-host, Jamie. And I'm going to try my hardest to turn my 9-year-old fanboy brain off because I like to view movies in a critical perspective, even if I like them. We are going to be going in depth in this video, so this is your one and only spoiler warning. And without further ado, let's talk about Superman. Before we get into why we love this movie so much, I think it's important to quickly touch on the previous iteration made by Zack Snyder, since it's such a massive topic at this point. And well, his Superman's fucking shit. I'm going to keep this brief because I want to save my in-depth thoughts for a different video, but I hate Zack Snyder's Superman so much that I want to die in a tornado. The worst part of this version of Superman is that it has completely changed public perception of the character to the point that he's unrecognizable. He's dark, he's mean, he lets people die, and frankly, he doesn't give a fuck. But we're not going to talk about him anymore. We're not going to let him ruin this.
I feel that the characters of a story are one of, if not the most important part of telling that story. They are essentially the lens that the story shines through and are the people that we, the audience, relate to and empathize with as they experience the story with you. In short, the characters of a story are a big thing for me, probably more so than most people, but I love James Gunn's Superman, and I'm not just talking about the movie. There's so much I want to say about David Corenswet's Superman, but I don't want to spend an hour talking about one character, even if it is the main one. So to start off, I personally really appreciate how sensitive and vulnerable he is. When he gets bothered by playground insults over the internet or pressed by someone close to him in an interview about a recent controversy, the invincible man who can lift a building that gets hurt more by words than most attacks thrown at him. Another thing I want to touch on in this scene is this line.
People were going to die!
Putting this shit in the trailer was a genius decision because when I heard it, I knew that this Superman was gonna rock and I needed to see this movie. And I need to point out that David Corenswet kills it here. Superman truly feels this way, and this outburst is such an effective way of showing us what's important to him. In Clark's eyes, doing good is the main priority. That's how he operates. He's not acting based on law or logic or reason, but on morality and purity because all life matters to him. In this movie, it really is plain to see how much of an influence Clark's parents are to him. And while Jor-El and Lana for sure have a big impact on him, I'm not talking about them right now.
From his parents. It's damaged, but there's more. Ketchup. It's ketchup. Ketchup.
For me, Ma and Pa Kent are the emotional core of this film. It almost sounds corny to say, but the warmth and love they have for their son was captured so well. It's so genuine and heartfelt, and despite being literal fiction, it feels so real. When watching Lois returning Clark home, I actually cried watching these parents worry about and tend to their wounded alien child. Then seeing Lois see Clark's tiny childhood room for the first time, while both her and the audience see that this invincible demigod laying in a twin bed is Martha and Jonathan's entire world, their son. You may hear what I'm about to say and scratch your head, but hear me out. A character that left a lasting impression on me after my first watch was a random street vendor. This character's name is Malik, and I say this because of what he represents to me. There are many examples of the positive impact that Superman and superheroes give to people throughout the movie, but Malik for me serves as one of the reasons superheroes exist. To inspire and help us. Help us in times of crisis, but also help us be better versions of ourselves. To bravely charge into traffic to help a god on the ropes in a fight, and to stand strong in the face of danger or death. That shows that everyone can be a hero by choosing to be good and by making the best choices that you can. This also ties into Clark's masterful speech at the end of the movie. None of us know what we're doing, but we put one foot in front of the other and try to make the best choices every day. And living to Superman's example resulted in Malik becoming a hero, becoming an example and a source of inspiration for others, living on in the hearts of those he influenced. On a similar note, the next character I want to talk about is Crypto. Most people love this little guy, and for good reason. During this movie, we see this dog brutalize Clark and be a nuisance at every given opportunity. Crypto for me represents the innocent. And of course, there are many times where Superman saves innocent people, but for me, Clark's selflessness and heroism is best captured here. To wrap up the characters on a more positive note, I want to talk about Mr. Terrific. Now, I know saying you love Mr. Terrific is not anything new, and I don't really have anything big I want to talk about, aside from just how enjoyable and funny he was.
Just give me a minute, I'll get Crypto and we'll go. Brought that dog, man!
On my first watch, I busted out laughing literally every single time he was on screen. His line delivery and presence is so damn funny, and I don't say this lightly, he was an absolute delight and a terrific contribution to this movie. Also, can't forget, honorable mention, Benjamin Netanyahu.
There is so much good character work in this movie that there's honestly too much to talk about. So I just want to touch on the two that really stood out to me, that being Jimmy Olsen and Lex Luthor. Mainly because they sucked ass last time. In Batman vs Superman, Jimmy Olsen gets his face blown off, and in this one he fucks bitches and he's funny as shit.
Lex tortured a dog the other day.
Jesus Christ!
And I don't even have to tell you how bad Zucker Lex was, so I'm just gonna say, I love Nicholas Hoult Lex Luthor. His hatred for Superman is pure perfection. Lex is so rich that he could just do absolutely nothing for the rest of his life, but he hates Superman so much that he decides to spend his time manipulating a monkey army just so they can shit talk him online. The writing around this character is genuinely flawless, and Nicholas Hoult's performance only brings out how good that writing really is. And Lex's monologue about envy and greatness is a prime example of this. It really represents what this character is all about. This man is a sad, weak baby who literally cries when he doesn't get his way, and he would much rather spend his immense wealth funding wars and on stupid bullshit that helps nobody other than himself instead of actually making the world a better place. I love that he's so deep into this facade that Superman is an alien and he's gonna kill us all, that even though he's proven wrong in every way, he won't admit that he is wrong and that Superman is better than him. Because that's what people like Lex want. They measure worth on power and wealth just so they can feel better than other people who should be treated as equals. It's also very interesting how the character of Ultraman ties into Lex Luthor. Lex fully believes that Superman is an evil, soulless alien, and by making an evil clone of him, he essentially created what he set out to destroy. Especially if they do more with this character, like having the black hole turn him into Bizarro. I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. You should do that, James. And you might already know this, but it's important to note that James Gunn apparently wanted to add title cards throughout this movie to have a quick transitional period to show when a day ended and a new day began, but they ended up scrapping this from the movie. And in my personal opinion, this was an awful decision. This movie is juggling so many different things, and at points in the first half, it really does feel a bit hard to follow at times. And I feel like this title card change is what causes most of this issue. The both of us saw this movie in theaters twice, and when we saw it for the first time, I didn't know about this change. So when I went in for a second time, I tried to place where these title cards would go and use my imagination a little bit. And the movie is legitimately so much better. I didn't even dislike the movie at first or think that this was that substantial of an issue, but with the title cards, the movie's pacing just feels so much more fluid and natural. You may think I'm bullshitting, but just trust me and try it for yourself. It really does make the movie feel better. There are some other small criticisms with this story, but in my opinion, the narrative is not why this movie is amazing. What makes this movie amazing is its characterization and presentation. Don't get me wrong, the story beats in this movie are fantastic, but when you think about the story here, it's relatively simple. But this film utilizes the simplistic nature to bring out what really matters here. I mean the story's meaning, the spectacle, the message of hope and kindness that it gives to us all. And the way that this movie brings this out is through its presentation. For example, look at this year with Ryan Coogler's Sinners. If you boil the story down, it doesn't sound like it's anything insane. On surface level, it seems like the plot of a basic run-of-the-mill horror movie. But if you watch the film, you know it's so much more than that. And that's because the way that these ideas and meanings are presented is truly genius, and it turns what seems like a simple story into a subtly made masterpiece. Not to say that these films are comparable or even similar. I'm just pointing out that there's a lot of amazing movies that utilize presentation in order to truly bring out what a story means in a way that would have never been seen without it. And to touch on other aspects of this film's presentation, the fights are absolutely amazing. The camera movement is on point, and there's shots here that are so inspired and unique. Like, this shit looks like something out of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. The cast in this movie are also performing their asses off. It might be too early to say this, but I think that most of these performances have already solidified their roles as that character. And it's very clear that this cast just works very well with James Gunn and his directing style. Watching the behind the scenes is genuinely fun, and you can tell by the way that James Gunn and the cast bounce off of each other that they're all very passionate about this project. And there's still so much to talk about. I haven't even mentioned the set pieces, the amazing CGI, and the amazingly comic booky color grading. This is the most comic booky superhero movie maybe ever, and even the way that this story is structured feels like a comic book run. This causes this movie to have such a unique identity, so it stands out from other superhero movies. And that leads me into the next section. Have you ever taken the time to look back on superhero movies recently? Because if you have, you notice that for a while, they've kind of sucked. And why have they sucked? Because they're all the same fucking movie. This has been such a long-running issue that it literally predates the MCU, but the people making these superhero movies just find a good movie that people like and then take its formula and replicate it over and over again. And I'd like to think these companies would learn from their mistakes, but they've done this 3 separate times now. So this cycle that superhero movies have been going through has just felt endless. But I think that Superman is the movie that is going to at least temporarily change that. A lot of people have said that this movie reminds them of one of those genre-defining superhero movies that end up getting replicated, like Spider-Man 1 and Avengers 1. But what I think sets Superman apart from these movies is that Superman is unable to be replicated. Let me explain. All of the movies I've mentioned have defining traits that the stylization focuses on throughout the movie. And guess what? That's the thing they always copy. Spider-Man 1 is really campy, so now everything's campy and wacky. The Dark Knight is grounded in realism, so now everything's realistic and dark and edgy. And Avengers 1 is really quippy and silly. You get the point already. But what James Gunn's Superman focuses on is vastly different than the other movies. This movie focuses on being true to the character of Superman. Literally everything with how this movie is stylized and presented is intentionally done for the character of Superman. The color grading, the whimsical comic booky world, the sheer sense of hopelessness before the climax. Every single story beat here is crafted for Superman, so it's not possible to replicate it. And you could say they will try to copy it anyways, but I disagree. I would say that this entire point I'm trying to make also works with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and so far, I'd say my theory stands. Nobody is really copying those movies. And it's not like these movies are unsuccessful or bad. They literally changed how everybody views the Guardians and turned them from being unknown by general audiences to being some of their favorites. So the way that I see it in my hopeful superhero fanboy eyes, this movie could be a wake-up call for studios on what audiences want. They want unique stories that take stances. They want character portrayals that are true to the spirit of the character regardless of small changes. My overall point is that we should be very excited about the future of superhero movies. Before I pass this section on to Jamie, I want to talk about something that's very important for this video and the channel going forward. And I know this video has just felt like this.
He helps people, and he flies, and he helps people.
But we're about to get serious. We are going to talk about politics. Like many YouTubers, I've always had the thought in my head that I don't want my content to be politically related in any way. But on this channel, we don't just want to talk about superhero movies. We want to talk about the artistic medium as a whole. Me and Jamie love a wide variety of art, such as movies, TV shows, video games, anime and comic books, etc. And to a certain extent, most art is political. I mean, just look at this children's superhero movie. The plot literally revolves around an evil billionaire funding a US allied country that is trying to commit genocide. And there's also so many other things that we want to talk about that are deeply rooted in politics. So sometimes we're gonna have to talk about politics.
It can be exceptionally hard to stay hopeful these days. This may be a personal thing, but from what I see online, this isn't uncommon at all. The world seems cruel, and sometimes you can only see the negatives. For example, if you live in the US, seeing people being ripped from their families and homes and not having a man in red trunks to save the day can be very crushing. But this movie reminded me, both waiting for it to come out and seeing it opening day, that hope always exists. I wanted a movie that focused on the heart and love for not only the main character, but the story as a whole. Because as corny as it may sound, superheroes have a profound impact on people. I believe that human brains are wired to love superheroes. I mean, it's kind of self-evident looking at the highest grossing movies. Humans have been telling stories about legendary men of great power and heart since we were eating bugs and shit. We have evolved to love superheroes, and since I was a little ass kid, I have gotten so much out of these works of fiction, and so have so many others. Superman is, in my opinion, the gold standard for superheroes, because to me, there is no better example of good or hope or kindness than this alien in a cape who embodies the good of humanity better than most humans. And that's at the core of the battle between Lex and Clark. Lex doesn't get it. And by it, I mean the concept of Superman. He doesn't get why people love him, and he takes it as an insult that the whole planet is talking about this guy. He doesn't understand what makes Superman beautiful and only sees how much weaker he is than Superman instead of looking to him as a source of light and inspiration. And it makes sense that the only people who are soulless and closed-minded enough to think this way are billionaires that hoard their wealth like evil dragons. Since I was a young lad, Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero, and still is to this day. Despite everything that's happened to his character in recent comics and other media, Spider-Man has always been teaching me. And I don't think it's possible for me to forget Uncle Ben's lesson, that with great power comes great responsibility. I'm not going super deep into this, not only because this is a Superman video, but also because I don't think I could put it into words or do it justice. But these lessons that we learn about the world and humans and ourselves through superheroes is so special and such a gift. With that being said, I am formally changing my top 3 superheroes to include the first DC hero to my list. Sorry, Matt, maybe if Born Again was better, you would have kept your spot. But unfortunately, that gun don't jam.
There is so much that this movie has to say, and it will, in my eyes, change the future of movies and even the world we live in. Whether that be from its heartwarming and hilarious characters or amazing messages that so many need to hear. But I'm gonna leave the rest to you. Because one thing that I've noticed since this movie came out is that people seem to be getting more good. I've even noticed it in myself. There are still many outliers of evil still in this world, and many people filled with hate in their heart. But what matters most is that progress, no matter how small or slow it may be, is still progress. One quick thing I'd like to touch on before the number score is this movie's theater experience. You see, I've never been into those big movie theater chains. To me, none of them have really felt homey, and they've honestly just felt way too big and corporate. So ever since me and my brother were kids, we've been going to this really small theater nearby, and I've got a lot of memories there. I saw my first movie in theaters ever and had to leave before the movie even started because I started crying profusely at a Megamind ad. And I've even seen Avengers Avengers Infinity War 5 times in that theater. But for the past 5 years, the theater has been kind of dead, to be honest. There's still some people there, but I don't know. Every time I go there, the vibe's just not right. But when I walked into that front lobby on opening day to see Superman, it was magical. There were Superman advertisements everywhere. Over half of the people in the massive crowd I bore witness to were wearing Superman capes. And best of all, not one person there had a frown on their face. And it's moments like these that not only make me remember why I love going to the theater, but why I love art, why I love life. And with that, me and Jamie are proud to present our very first Coming at Entertainment Collective 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot longer than expected, so I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out my gaming channel as well as my Twitch. The links to those will be in the description. And I actually won't be able to post onto the NaterV2 channel anymore as I no longer have a character artist. I do want to go back to that channel one day, and I do have one more video that I can make, but I've decided I want to put all of my creative efforts toward Coming at Entertainment right now.